All right, welcome everybody to a Super Monday featuring Chris Baker, hosted by yours truly, Big Doug. Chris, you were at the game yesterday. What was the vibe in the stadium?
It was a good feeling with the fans. It was good to see a semi-packed stadium. I still feel like the top rows still weren't too packed, but the lower rows were pretty packed. We had pretty good fan interaction. Obviously, guys were frustrated, especially the way the first half went. But we did respond in the second half, and I think guys were just upset at how the game ended, especially with those no calls and the one call that they did make, which was totally bogus. But the fans were happy. They were excited. There were a lot of Giants fans there, a lot of blue jerseys in the stands, but that's expected here in Washington. But overall, it was a good day, good crowd, and people were excited.
You were not going to go. I had talked to you a couple of days ago. You ended up at the game. What made you change your mind?
Man, it was just such a big game, and then it's the Giants, and throughout my career, I always played well against the Giants, so I thought I would bring some good luck to the game. But it was just one of those feelings and one of those games that you just kind of just didn't want to miss. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take the trip up there and make this game and make the best of it.
How was the weather last night? Cold?
Yeah, it was pretty cold. I was fortunate enough to be able to watch the game inside of a suite. But even inside the suite, once you have a open window, it's still pretty cold. So I can imagine how cold it might have been for the ordinary fan who was watching the game from outside in the stands. But it wasn't like Buffalo cold. So
I was going to say you're up in Connecticut a good portion of the year anyway, so you are not adverse to cold weather. In fact, what you tell me you were out plowing the other day?
yeah, we was expecting like an inch or two, and then it wound up going to like 4 or 5 inches of snow. And my dad has a landscaping company in Connecticut, so I help him out when it comes down to plowing snow.
The dog approved.
Oh my God! Hold on 1 second.
This is not a problem. This is a dog friendly podcast, as most people know. Um, so that's no biggie, Chris.
There we go.
It's a dog friendly podcast. Ain't no big deal. When it's funny when I was moving furniture through college, and the guy that drove the big rig used to always go out and do the plowing. A lot of money in plowing.
It
I
is.
was
It is.
surprised by that.
Everyone needs plowing removed. I mean, everyone needs snow removed when it starts snowing, and they pay good money to go out there and make sure that their properties are well taken care of and iced down, well, sand down when it snows. So, it's a great business as long as as long as your equipment can hold up. Because even though those contracts may pay well, it does cost a pretty penny to fix the equipment anytime things go wrong, whether it's a snow blower or
Yeah.
a plow on a truck. Those things are very expensive to get fixed.
When you were playing, Chris, did you prefer it to be, say, 20 degrees outside or 80 degrees outside when you're playing a game?
It kind of didn't matter. I'm from up north, so the cold really didn't bother me too much. I grew up in the cold, so it really didn't affect me as much as someone who would probably be from Florida. Like you'll notice, like those Florida guys hate cold games. Anybody who grew up in that warm climate, they hate cold games. But I really didn't. It didn't matter to me. Plus, most of the time when it's cold games, um, when you're on the field, we put stuff on our skin that helps keep us warm. And then when you're on the bench, the benches are heated. Then you got those big coats that keep you warm. So then you got hand warmers, foot warmers. So we're not as cold as people think because we're out there moving around. Adrenaline is going, and plus you have so many heated elements on the sideline. It's not like what the fans are actually feeling because they're sitting in the stands with the wind blowing or the snow coming down on them and they're not moving around. But the guys on the field are not as cold as the people in the stands because we're moving around so much. And then we have so many different elements on the sidelines to help us out and stay warm. So it's really not as bad as people think it is.
I rewatched the game right before we started the show here. I'll give my thoughts in a minute, but I'm curious your thoughts. It was a winnable football game.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it, man. There was no reason.
Where did they fall short? What was the biggest thing in your mind that kept them from winning, other than not scoring enough points?
Just execution, especially in the red zone, especially on offense. And then for some reason yesterday, I just did not see a consistent pass rush from our defensive line. I don't know what it was that the offensive line did for the New York Giants, where if they were chipping our defensive ends or just doing the play action and holding up the guys in the middle. But for some reason, just watching the game, it's like, yo, Danny Jones has all day to throw the ball. And people just running wide open. Like, where's this pass rush? Where's the extra blitzer? And it felt like sometimes even watching the defense that even when we did send a blitz, we were so busy disguising the blitz that when it came time to actually blitz the blitzer, you'll see him coming free, but he wasn't getting there fast enough to really affect the play. And we started off good with a few 3 and outs, but when it came down to like the money downs, 3rd down, 4th down, it's like it's no way you give up a 4th and 9 at the end of the half.
It was brutal.
Yeah, I was like, are they going for it on 4th down, on 4th and 9? These guys are crazy. And I'm like, I know our defense is going to make a play and get off the field, and somehow that slot receiver has all this open field to go left, right, and he makes a good move on our slot corner and makes the big catch, gets the 1st down, and then they score some points before the end of the half. But those are the plays that you have to make in order to win, these next big games, because it's playoff times, playoff seeding time, and you have to make those big plays in order to win these next few games. Like if you can't convert on 4th and 10 on defense, then there's no way you have a chance to make it to the playoffs or win a Super Bowl, which is the ultimate goal.
They had so many opportunities. They were so good. I've said this for a long time. We have said this for a bunch of weeks now. They are so good between the 25s.
Right.
And I mean, just pumping the ball up and down the field, huge plays. Man, they get to the 20 and it's pack it up and kick a field goal time. They don't have, I don't understand. It wasn't even the play calling. Went back and saw the play calling was fine. You know what it is? It is brutal penalties on 1st down. Like Brian Robinson gets that run to the edge and cuts up to about the 15-yard line. And then it's back-to-back holding and illegal motion penalties. Like
right,
motion penalties, bro, at this point of the year is just crazy to me.
Man, it's unbelievable, and I'm pretty sure the coaches are going to harp on it in practice about just being disciplined and just doing things the right way. There's no way that you could expect to win a game when you're putting yourself in position where it's 1st and 15, 1st and 20s, 2nd and 10. Like anytime you progress 1st and 2nd down, you want to make yards. You don't want to keep losing yards. Like anytime you put the quarterback in a position where he has to start the down over and it's 1st and 20 or it's 1st and 15 or 2nd and 13, that's not a winning recipe. When we won these games and we did well, it was always 1st down and 10, 2nd down and 6, 3rd down and 2, 3rd down and 3. And we found ourselves in a position where it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 15 over and over last night. And that's not a recipe, especially against a weak Martindale defense who's going to send the blitz and find somebody open to get that quarterback.
It was odd, and it just shows you it's the little tiny things that end up mattering. They had that play, I think it was the 4th quarter, where he throws that wheel route to Samuel on the sideline. He toe taps it. 2 weeks ago, that ball was placed inside, closer towards the hash to Terry McLaurin, and it's a walk-in touchdown.
Right.
There were like 3 of those yesterday, and Heineke had a fairly good game, but it's just those inches. If
yeah.
to the sideline, throws it to the hash. Samuel walks that ball in yesterday, and it's totally
Right. He was wide open too. I was like, oh my God, it's about to be a touchdown. And he threw it too far to the sidelines, and he just was able to catch it and get out of bounds instead of catching it and running into the end zone.
That's
But
right.
like one of the biggest plays in the game was when we had the sack force fumble for a touchdown. The Giants made a great play, made a great sack. But at the end of the day, I was like, what the hell is our quarterback doing? If we're on the edge of the end zone, we have to get rid of that ball quick. There's no, second guessing, hitching, pump fakes, like 3-step drop, get rid of it. If your guy's not open, then throw it to the nearest guy out of bounds. But, for him to sit back there, I mean, obviously the guy made a great play, a great defensive play, but I just felt like we held the ball for way too long for where we were at on the field. It was like, come on, quarterback, you got to understand where we're at on the field.
And Scott Turner's going to get the blame for that, and you know it. But
right,
it's not there. That was not his fault.
No, I believe that was strictly on the quarterback. You have to have more awareness that you're on the 1 yard line in the end zone. Our offensive line can't take the aggressive approach of trying to really block guys extremely hard, because if you get a holding call, that's a safety also. So get rid of the ball quick. You get to the, I think he did like a 3 or 4 step drop, and then he just stood there instead of stepping up or just moving around or just doing something outside of just standing at the point where the defensive end knew you were going to be and giving up a sack force fumble for a touchdown. That was a really big game-changing play. And we just have to find a way to secure the ball, because we were in field goal range late in the fourth quarter when he did a quarterback scramble. And, from where we was sitting up in the stands, it looked like his knee was down or he was down when he had the tackle. But obviously the ball came out. We have to do a better job of just securing the ball and not giving the ball up, especially in the red zone. Because if we kick a field goal there, that changes the whole game at the end of the game. To where we might not need a touchdown to score. We might only need a field goal to tie the game up. But we have to secure the ball.
And what's crazy, Chris, is that right before that sack fumble touchdown, it was like a 20-yard run for Gibson. He gets up to about the 35. It was a holding penalty.
Right.
Back it comes. The very next play is the sack fumble for the touchdown. And it's got to be frustrating for the defense, because I remember thinking after the game last night that the defense hadn't played very well. I went back after watching the game today, and outside of Bostic, who is just too slow to play the position anymore, the defense played really well. And, that to me, the touchdown is not on them necessarily. That's, at all. He picks that and runs that in. So then you're talking about what, 13 points they gave up yesterday? The fact is, if the offense is going to score 12 points every week, they're not going to win football games at all.
Right. I didn't think our defense did terribly bad. Obviously, we want to see some more turnovers or get some more pressure from our front four, or when we see blitzes, actually have those blitzes make it home. But for the most part, our defense played well. In the fourth quarter, you kind of want to see our defense step up a little bit better, especially when we got to have the ball back. Saquon was able
Those 3 big runs by Saquon for 10 yards pop there were brutal.
Right. And it just took so much time off the clock. And it was like, bro, what are we doing that we can't stop Saquon? Like, we stopped him the whole game. Now we have to, this is must get the ball back. 9:07 time. Everybody knows that the Giants are going to run the ball, stop them, and 10, spin move 10. It was like, oh my God, what are we doing? But we even still were still able to hold them to a field goal and still have a chance to win the game. And then we came back and fumbled. I believe that's when the fumble play happened.
Yep.
With Heineke, and then we still had a chance to come back and win the game, and the refs screwed us.
Walk me through what happens with Terry McLaurin there, Chris.
Bro, I watched that play over and over. Obviously, I'm not a skilled position, so I kind of don't know the conversation that they have. But from the film, it shows that he asked the ref twice. Am I on the line? And the referee held his hand up and said, move up a little bit more. He moves up a little bit more. We run the play. He throws the flag. It's like, what the hell? Like, I just asked you if I'm on the line. You say, yeah. and then you throw the flag immediately when the play starts. Like,
and he had his hand on the flag, like he looked excited to throw that damn flag to me.
right.
Like he was on there, he was like ready to throw that thing, and I was like,
bro,
why
people
would he
ask me.
shoot up again?
People ask me all the time, yo, the NFL is rigged. Is it rigged? I'm like, nah, man. Like, guys go out there, they play their asses off on both sides of the ball. But when you see shit like that, it's like, man, this guy must have not have wanted us to win the game, bro. Because there's no way you can call that penalty when you can see clear communication between the wide receiver and the referee, and he moves up twice.
Yeah.
And the referee puts his hand down like, oh, you're good. And as soon as the ball is snapped, he throws the flag. Like, what the hell is the flag? And then the next play, I mean, goodness gracious, what is pass interference? I mean, I've seen the most ticky-tackish pass interference calls all day, every game. This guy bear hugged him. Like, the ball is in the air and he's on his back. Like, if that's not pass interference or at least defensive holding, what is? Like, you cannot
three
make that a
times
no
on
call.
that play, Chris, he grabbed him.
Huh?
3 times on that one play, he grabbed him.
Right. And that,
I mean,
for us to be in a must-win, must-have-it situation, the referees cannot take their flags and hold them in their pocket at the end of the game situation when there's a clear penalty. Like, that was a clear penalty.
Scared to throw it.
Right. And it was like, I understand referees want the players to, make the plays to win the game, but Jesus Christ, like, give us a chance. If it's a penalty, throw the penalty.
Now, they still had to get the 2-point conversion. I mean,
yeah, but still, we could face that situation when we get there. First things first, score the touchdown.
It was brutal. Your guy Dotson from Penn State looks great.
Yeah, he's really good, man. He's as advertised, and he's definitely a great complimentary wide receiver to Terry McLaurin. And those two guys are going to be really scary. And to see how well they're playing with an average quarterback, if we could ever find ourselves a real franchise quarterback, man, it would be amazing to see how great these guys really become.
It's brutal, and I hate to start looking too far forward because we do still have 3 games left, and they can still win these and get into the playoffs. Getting to 10 wins is still, when's the last time the team got? You guys got to 10 wins once?
Maybe.
Did you guys get to 10 wins?
When I played?
Yeah.
Shoot, I don't know.
It was, at any rate, it hadn't happened very often
right.
In the last decade or so. So that's still ahead of them. But it's just obvious that, you either have a really good quarterback or you don't.
The thing is,
I don't know where they're supposed to go to fix the problem. Like, there just aren't guys going to be on the street at the end of the year.
Right. The thing is, Taylor Heineke's not a bad player. He's just not a Jalen Hurts or a Patrick Mahomes. He's
a very good backup quarterback.
Yeah, he reminds me of like Colt McCoy, because he'll do very good for you for 6 games out of the season. But if you ask him to play 16 weeks, it's just like, oh God, who knows what may happen.
Now at this point, Chris, and I know your opinions on it from weeks before because they were still in it, and technically they're still in it now. Would you like to see the other quarterbacks? I mean, is it time to see Sam Howell or no? Rest of the season with Heineke?
No, stick with Heineke. Heineke has got us to where we are now. You just got to stick it out for the rest of the season. If you make a quarterback change now, it just changes up the whole offense and it changes up the spark plug. Like, as many mistakes as he made, as far as giving up the sack force fumble just from a lack of knowledge and not getting the ball out fast and fumbling the ball in the red zone, we still had a chance to win the game. You know what I mean? So it's not as if what he did in the game really lost us the game, because we still had a chance to win or at least tie the game. But we just have to make those plays. And it's just like, what do you tell your guys when you can clearly see on film that he asked the referee, am I on the line of scrimmage? And he says yes, and then throws the flag, and we score a touchdown on that play. What do you tell them? We did what we were supposed to do. That was get the ball in the end zone. And then on the next play, he made a great play, tried to get open, and the guy hit you in the back, pass interference,
It was tough.
and they don't call it. It's like, so what do you tell these guys?
Well, they went. I guess what I'd ask, and I guess what the coaches need to be figuring out is, I'm with you on Heineke, and there's 3 games left in the season, and it feels like he's earned the opportunity to ride the season out. However, they are most certainly and obviously winning in spite of Heineke and not because of Heineke. I mean, they scored 12 points yesterday, Chris.
Right.
12.
Right.
And they scored what, 18 the game before that? I mean, it's just it's not enough. And are you blowing a premier defense by not getting a quarterback in there that can help you do some of the things you want to do? Because, like you said, timing and getting the ball out, well, that's one of the things he's supposed to do really well, right? I mean, he's been in the system for 7 years or ever. Like, understanding the concept of the play is not supposed to be his problem.
Right. Without a question. You know, I can't speak to what exactly he was thinking, especially on that sack force fumble. Like, that's just quarterback one-on-one. You know, when you're on that 1 yard line, there is no double hitches and there is no pump fixes. One read and get the ball out. And for us to hold the ball in that situation, it was just like, bro, what are we doing?
And they refused to give Gibson the ball yesterday. Did you notice that? Like, I think he had 5 touches the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whose fault that is. I mean, obviously it has to be the offensive coordinator's fault. But yeah, I don't know.
How was the last time you had a haircut?
The last time I had a haircut was probably about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago.
And are you done with haircuts from now on, or just see what happens?
I'm gonna see what happens. You know, I've had long hair for a lot of my life. I believe my junior year in high school, I started growing my hair, and I had braids going into Penn State, and they were pretty long. And Joe Paterno had like he had this rule where your hair couldn't come out of your helmet or you wouldn't play. And so I was kind of being stubborn. I was like, man, I ain't cutting my hair, And I kept my long hair, and Joe Paterno never played me. So then I was like, you know what, the hell with this. I'm cutting my hair off. So I cut it off at Penn State, and I kept a short cut for a while. And then now that I'm, 35 years old, all my friends were going bald. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna grow my hair back and see what happens. And so I grew my dreads, and I loved it. It's kind of amazing. You know, they grew very fast, and it goes with how I like to go. I could just wake up and just go in the morning. I don't have to do much to them. So
I'm growing mine too. I'm gonna catch you soon. I'm deciding to let mine go. I used to grow mine long all the time too, down the middle of my back, and I cut it and donate it. Now I got a couple more years on you. I'm not quite 35, but I've spurned on the new hair growth. You beard oil? Are you a beard oil man or no?
I need to do a better job at maintaining my beard, but I use like some coconut oil if I was to ever blow dry it. I would put a little coconut oil in there in the morning after I get out the shower and kind of blow dry it, get the hair straight. But if I really like take care of my beard and maintenance, it'll probably actually grow out to the look that I really want to. But I just wake up and scratch it and keep it going.
I know you are a tattoo man. Which one was your first one? Do you have a favorite one?
My first tattoo was my initials. I got it when I was preparing for the combine. I was like, the first thing I did was like, I'm grown now. Let me give me a tattoo. So I got my initials C and B on my arms. That was my first tattoo. And then after that, I had a tattoo artist in Denver named OG, and he pretty much did all the rest of my tattoos. Do I have a favorite one? I don't know.
How many are you up to now?
Let's see. I got my Chinese one. Everyone is always so intrigued by my Chinese one because they like, what does it say? I'm like, it should say General Tso's chicken. You ain't Chinese, so you can't read it. But I got that one. Then I got a bunch of religious tattoos. On my forearm, I got a tattoo that has praying hands, God, family, It's basketball. No, it's God, basketball, family, football. That's one of my favorite tattoos because that kind of talks about like my life story. You know, obviously God is first, and then basketball was my first love. And then I started my family, and then football. Um, so I love that tattoo. And then I got about 9, 10 tattoos.
Now I know that you are a big card player. Do you have a favorite gambling game you like? Favorite card game?
Yeah, I like to play baccarat at the casinos.
Okay,
It's a big Asian game. All you see
it
is
is.
all
Explain the game because I've heard it before, but I'm not really sure how you play it.
yeah, it's kind of hard. So it's like a I guess you would call it Asian blackjack, but instead of in blackjack where everyone gets a chance to pull different cards, in baccarat there's only a player and a bank. And in blackjack, the goal is to get to 21. And baccarat, the goal is to get to 9. Everything after 10 in baccarat reduces. So a face card, if you get a face card equals 0. If you get a 8 and then you get a 2, which will equal out to 10, that equals 0. So you have a chance to pluck a third card. Once the dealer plucks a third card, whatever number comes out, whether it's 0 through 9, whichever one is closest to 9, whichever side is closest to 9, win. So there's only a player hand and a banker hand, and each side could draw up to 3 cards. And after those 3 cards are drawn, whichever side is closest to 9 wins the game, unless it's a tie. If it's a 9-9, 6-6, 7-7. But there's so many ways to win because they're dragon bonuses. Um, it's a bunch of different ways to win in baccarat,
And it's
but
one
it
of the
has
highest stake games, right? I mean,
it's
those
it's
are usually
it's
big
high
stake
stake
games.
depending on where you're at. Like some casinos have $25 baccarat tables. The MGM, I think their lowest table is 50. But if you want to sit down and play at the table and touch the cards and stuff, it's normally like $100 minimum, $200 minimum, unless you go to high stakes where it's like a $500 minimum. But you see all those agents, it's like, what are these agents doing to have this much money? Because they be at the casino every day with 20, $30,000, and they just bet 11,000 like it's nothing. I'm like, bro, how did they know?
Is that the one where they keep records up on the wall so that you can see which numbers have been hit
Yeah,
right?
there's a big board that shows like the player bank, tie hand. Like it's so many different little clues, which is natural 9. Did it jump to a natural 9 banker and then jump to player? Like they have so many different little statistics and ways that they play. But it's very exciting once you see these agents play it, man, because they stick together. They don't really let nobody at their tables, and when they play, man, they play hard, and it's kind of a big adrenaline rush when you see them just betting $20,000 like it's nothing, and they losing it just like damn. They pull out another 20,000. I'm like,
Wow.
what are they doing?
Yeah, I had fallen down one of these TikTok holes the other day where professional gambler, it's funny that you brought it up, was talking about baccarat and how you watch the numbers and how they play like the odds to get to the numbers, and it was interesting. Have you always been number 92?
Not always. When I got to Washington, I was number 92. My When I was in Miami, I believe my number was 90. And when I was in Denver, I wanted to be like Vince Wilfork, so my number was 75. I was a nose tackle.
70s are weird for defensive linemen. I was
It
never
is, but Vince Wilfork was the GOAT at nose tackles, and when I came in, they wanted me to be a 3-4 nose, and Josh McDaniels was my head coach, so I was like, hey, I might as well be the next Vince.
How is Josh McDaniels? Because he's not had a very good run in Oakland either.
He was a cool coach. I think the players didn't really respond to him because he was so young, and he came in with that Bill Belichick mindset where he's just gonna, call out players in meetings and talk crazy to you a little bit in the meetings, and
Was
Some of the
that the
guys.
year they drafted Tebow and Noshawn in the same year? Was that the year that they picked you up, or was that
No,
the next
I
year?
was there for. That was my second year in Denver.
Okay.
The year that I got there, we drafted Robert Ayers and No Sean Marino. And then the year after was we drafted Demarius Thomas and Tebow.
Okay.
But when we got there, we had a few veterans on the team who were either the same age or older than Josh. And this guy wasn't really a proven coach. And for him to come in there and, just rip guys apart in team meetings, they're like, man, what the hell have you done as a head coach? You know what I mean? And then, one thing after another started happening. They started having like a Denver Spygate and all this other stuff. And I think he only lasted like 2 years in Denver after his.
It wasn't long.
Yeah, so he got up out of there and then became a special assistant to some other team after getting fired. But I mean, we started off 6-0. So
I
guys were
remember
good.
that. It's odd too that you say that, because now it's kind of like the trend to have these really young coaches.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe players' mindsets have just changed enough since then that it doesn't matter.
I don't think guys really I don't like the guys don't mind change because the change is going to happen regardless. So you have to be able to adapt. I think the hardest thing was just it was like he was kind of arrogant in the sense of like he tried to like walk around and be like Bill Belichick. And if Bill Belichick cuss you out, it's like, all right, this man done won Super Bowls. Josh McDaniels curse you out, bro. This is your first year coaching. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, don't talk to me like this. You know what I mean? But he just carried himself as like an arrogant guy a little bit. But he knew his football. He was very knowledgeable about the game. But it was just kind of hard for him to talk to guys the way Bill Belichick talked to guys, and it was only his first year coaching.
Now, obviously, you are a defensive player. Do you care either way whether the head coach is a defensive-minded guy also? Does that make a difference for the defensive players, or not necessarily? Do you notice a difference in the way the team is set up that way?
No, not necessarily. As long as the coach can come in and help you win games, it doesn't matter if you're a defensive guy or offensive guy. I mean, who cares as long as you're winning? Because at the end of the day, you're going to have a defensive coordinator anyway. So as long as you're winning games, I don't think guys really care what the head coach is, whether he's an offensive guy or a defensive guy. As long as he has a good game plan for the guys moving forward to help you win games, get into the playoffs, and be competitive, guys really don't care whether it's an offensive guy or a defensive guy.
How much do you actually talk to the head coach, let's say Shanahan, on a weekly basis? I mean, is not as much as people think, right? It's more about the coordinators and the position coaches for you guys during the week.
Right. Like Coach Shanahan was a different kind of coach because he was so established, and he wasn't really what I would say a jokester. He was kind of like all business, so it was like he was gonna coach you up, but it wasn't like you were just about to walk into his office like, "Hey, what's up?" You know what I mean? Gruden was a little bit different because you could walk into his office and say, "Hey, what's up?" And you could talk to him and joke around with him. But it really wasn't like that with Shanahan because he was, so it was like having the president, around. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, it's different. Different coaches have different philosophies. I like both. I like Gruden because he was kind of laid back and chill. He was kind of like a player's coach, and Shanahan was a player's coach too, but he was just more of a authoritative figure. You know what I'm saying? Like if you was late for Shanahan, you knew you was getting fined. Don't even talk to him. Just take your fine and go about your day, and you might get cursed out in a team meeting. With Gruden, it was like if you get fined, you may be able to talk yourself out of the fine.
Is that right? That's hilarious. Who's the best coach in the league right now?
The best coach. I mean, I don't know, bro. It's hard. I mean, speaking of Shanahan's, I mean, look at Kyle and what he's doing up in San Fran. He's
with the last pick in the draft.
Right, the last pick in the draft. He's lost both of his quarterbacks, and for some reason, this last pick in the draft guys came in and looked better than both of your starting quarterbacks to start the season.
And Bosa looks like the defensive player of the year. He's been fantastic this year out there. You can
He
tell
looks-
that's what this team is missing without having Chase Young is that game wrecker. Montez Sweat to me is not a game wrecker. I thought he would be. He doesn't feel like one.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I told a lot of people is when you're that one guy, teams could key in on you.
Yeah.
But when there's someone on the opposite side of you, when they really can't key in on you, then that's when you start to shine. I feel like Montez will be a lot better if he had another counterpart on that other edge that they will have to focus on. But there's no like real consistent edge rusher that we have where teams are like, hey, we need to chip this guy. We need to slide the protection this way. We always know if you line up on our defensive line, well, obviously the number one and number two thing is to stop the guys in the middle. And if you have the guys like on Montez, if you get like a chip on Montez, you only have to worry about the other end. You just got to tell your right tackle to, hold up for 3 seconds. You know what I mean? So I think once Chase get back and he has another elite guy from on the other side, he'll be a lot more effective.
It feels like we're not going to see him again this year, particularly if they lose to San Francisco, which basically I think would eliminate them from playoff contention. I don't see why you would bring Chase back for 2 games, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think with him not playing last night, I think that kind of just said, hey, we're going to hold him off till next season, let him get another offseason.
That surprised you? That means that knee was worse than we realized.
Well, you just never know how bad someone's knee is until he gets out there and play and you're able to see him. But no one is able to really see how he's moving, how he feels after practice, the real day-to-day effects that he has after, being able to move around and work out. You just don't know what that player's actually going through or how he feels or how that knee is responding to different workouts and being able to practice and then not have any swelling or hiccups after a major surgery like that. And typically with those surgeries, it takes a whole year to truly heal. Right. And you play on the defensive line, especially when the ground and pound, you're always grinding on that knee, changing directions, and it could be a lot on that knee. And guys are always rushed back, and then once they get rushed back, because you overcompensating for one side, you wind up doing something to the other knee. So I think it'll be a smart decision for us to just say, hey, let's hang it up, just continue to work, get you a good off season in and come back.
I respect that they're not rushing them back.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think guys are getting a lot smarter. And guys have a lot of other things off the field outside of football money to rely on. So it's just like, hey, I'm going to play this thing smart.
Last one before we get out of here. I'm curious. You hear so much about the travel and how tough it is. They're going to have this Sunday night game and then fly out to the West Coast for San Francisco. Playing wise, is it as tough on the body as they make it seem? Is it that big of a deal? I mean, you're only talking about the difference between a 1:00 game and we're talking about 6 or 7 hours difference. What is it like to finish that night game and then fly across country for a game?
Oh, that's pretty cool. Anytime you get to fly out a couple early and spend a couple of days on the West Coast is not bad. I think the hardest games to get ready for is when you play on a Sunday night or a Sunday and then have to play on a Thursday. Right. That's the most brutal on a lot of guys, and I'm pretty sure you guys. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but if you watch Thursday night football, you'll see the number of injuries are significantly more high than a regular Sunday game because guys don't really start feeling normal again until Wednesday or Thursday. And then you turn around and have a game, and that's when you just see so many brutal injuries happen because that's when your body is just now starting to get to some type of normalcy, and you're going back out there and banging around and putting yourself back in the position that you was already in on Sunday. But the Sunday night, Sunday morning, I mean, as long as you get that full week of recovery and practice, most of the time your body is going to respond and you'll be ready to play. It's just those Thursday night games are just so brutal because it's just not enough time to recover fully.
All right, I lied. One last one. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointing was that one last night? Like that one really felt like we see this all the time, right? The teams don't always play well after a bye, and they're not always great on prime time. This team felt different, man. I really thought they were going to come out with some juice yesterday and handle that thing. That's really not a very good Giants team other than defense.
Right. I mean, you obviously as a fan, you would wanted us to come out with a bit more of a spark. I mean, we scored 3 points in the first half, coming off a bye week. I mean,
and had 3 long drives in that first half too.
Right. You would expect us to have a lot more to show for, especially after coming off a bye. But our team always finds a way to fight back and make it a close game.
Yeah.
I like, obviously you're disappointed that the guy has lost, and you don't want to ever be in a situation where you have to put the games in the referee hands. But I mean, you can't blame this law. You can blame it on us as players because we didn't make enough game-winning plays, or we didn't, secure the ball, and we had few turnovers and stuff. But we were in position to win the game, and the referees literally screwed us. And I hate to blame the game on the refs, but what do you say? It was clear. Terry asked the referee, "Am I on the line of scrimmage?" And he clearly said, "Move up." He moves up. They say, "Am I good?" "Yeah, you're good." He throws the flag. We score a touchdown. And then
they scored a touchdown on that play.
Right. And then the next play, I mean, as ticky-tack as this league is when it comes to these passing interference calls, it's like they call the minimum amount of contact pass interference for someone to play through the back of the receiver, which is the technical answer for pass interference, going through a player's back to defend the ball. I mean, come on, this guy was getting bear hugged, and the ball was still in the air. That is clearly pass interference, and it was clearly holding when he was trying to get open in the end zone. If you make that call, we get the ball on the 1 yard line, and whatever happens, happens. But at least we have a chance to win the game, and we actually had the chance to. We actually scored when we had the chance on the 1 yard line. We scored, and they just called a bogus call. So it's kind of hard to be disappointed in the guys because they went out there and played their hardest and did what they had to do to quote unquote win the game. And for some reason, we just wasn't able to make those plays, or the referees didn't allow us to make the plays that we thought we had made to win the game.
Another game where Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen both played almost 90% of the snaps. Tough way to win. Only 20% for Ridgeway. I thought he's been playing well. I was surprised they didn't give him more looks.
Yeah, man, it's brutal. Like I told you before, man, your body will start to wear down, and there was no pass rush to speak of last night, whether it was on the interior or on the outside. No one got any type of pressure all game. So we have to find a way to keep these guys fresh so they could go out there and play at a high level.
All right, my brother. I will see you next Monday. Appreciate it.
All right, bro.